Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Real Wealth Solutions podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Darren, along with my other co-host, Greg Scully. Today, we are joined by a good friend of ours, Caleb Bryant. Welcome, Caleb. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Good morning, Caleb.
I am pumped to be here, guys. How are you doing this morning?
Doing great. If you don't mind, we want to start off really just with where you were before you got into real estate, why you chose real estate, maybe how you got to where you are currently and what you're doing. Then we'll just dissect some of that and dive into some questions afterwards.
All right. How I chose real estate. So originally I had no desire to go. Well, I didn't even know really about real estate. So it was kind of by accident that I found it. I was touring around with a band, playing bass on the road, and I went to school for audio engineering. So I was kind of going the music route, thinking I was thinking like an entrepreneur, like I'm gonna have my own studio, I'm gonna build my own studio and bring bands through. But after I had worked with a few bands and worked in the music industry a little bit, I kind of wanted to keep that a hobby and keep it like a fun thing to do, because to actually make money, you have to work with a lot of people that maybe it's not as fun to work with. So I started Googling how can you make six figures without going to college, and real estate was consistently on the lists. So I started talking to people in my network, and that's how I eventually went that direction and kind of dove in. I saw some people in my network being successful with it and knew that it was something that made sense to me.
I want to hit on something that you hear that all the time, do what you love to make money or for your career or something. What you brought up there, I like the contrarian point of it, because you can just wreck something that you love by trying to turn it into a career, because it'll just take all the fun out of it. Because I think the example I heard was somebody was a huge fan of football. And then he was like, man, I just want, I thought it'd be really cool to be a ref, and then I could enjoy working in something that I'm really passionate about. And somebody pointed out to him, it's like, you will never look at this game again as a fan. You will always be looking through this lens as a ref, and it's just going to take the fun out of it. So that's just something I want to touch on.
Yeah, to touch on that a little further, that would be, so you go watch a football game because you're trying to get away, and that's kind of how I was using music. It was more of an escape than like a career. And so if I take that escape away and it's something you have to be stuck in every day, then it's like it loses its value and it doesn't take you where you want to go. So that's why I was like, nah, this won't work.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
When you realized, real estate was the way to go, what did you first start diving into? What part of real estate? And did you go find one of your skill sets for sure is you're a great networker. And did you go find a mentor? How did you just start out, and what that look like?
Okay, so at the beginning, I didn't know what else to do besides go get my license. So I did that in Virginia, and I worked with a guy that I knew before. I didn't pay attention to his career, I guess. He was a family friend. He had his own brokerage. And so this guy's like he's an investor. Like he is a broker, but he's really an investor. So I started working with him, and he kind of was like accidentally my mentor. But the thing is, a lot of the things he was telling me way back then didn't even process until more recently. So I had already moved on before they really sank in. But what getting my license helped me figure out is I wasn't in it for retail. Like I wasn't in it to sell houses to families to move into. I have no skills when it comes to selling like to the wife. I only look for something that is a good investment in my head. So like I can't build that picture for other people. So after I sold a few of those, I had figured out it wasn't really for me. So I started reading a lot. And the book that really got me focused was Ken McElroy's The ABCs of Real Estate. It pushed me towards multifamily. So that's where I actually kind of started, is I was aiming for multifamily. I had a couple clients right at the beginning, just in my network already, that had to make some big moves with money. So a 1033 exchange, which is similar to a 1031, except it's when the government takes your property by eminent domain. Same principles, easier rules. I had to go place a few $1,000,000 for that. And so I kind of got into the investing piece really quickly. And from there, I had to build a strategy, because I knew multifamily is not something you can just go buy whenever you want, at least for me. So my core strategy at the very beginning was simple. I'm going to meet with as many investors as I can, and I'm going to partner with somebody on every deal, because I figured if I partner with people that have more experience than me, I'm going to have a better chance of both learning and then not making a catastrophic mistake.
Sounds
What
like
was the trade-off then for the investor partner then? Deal flow?
I didn't know at the beginning, to be honest. But what it ended up being was being able to find capital, because it's just the way it worked out. The first partnership I had, it was someone who had a deal. So I was like, okay, what's the opposite of what's the opposite
Okay.
piece that I can bring?
So you didn't necessarily have both sides of that equation
No,
figured
I
out.
didn't.
Okay.
I just so you know, when I start something, I never have it even close to figured out. I kind of just go for it, and then figure out how terrible of an idea it was as I go, and try to make adjustments.
Okay. I mean, that's fine, but I mean, you're tripling, doubling, quadrupling your potential possibilities by not thinking that you only have one side of the equation to bring, though. So
Oh yeah, no,
yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know at the beginning what side. I knew I had to bring value, but I had no idea what that value was. And so I was just meeting with people, because I figure if I talk to people, I'm going to figure out what their problem is. And if I can figure out what the problem is, I might be able to solve it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay.
let's talk about since you already touched on multifamily, that's sort of the route you went initially. You partnered with somebody on every deal. What was the other thing you said? Oh, well, you said two things. Partner with
It was
someone on every.
meeting with as many people as
Yeah, okay.
possible.
And I remember when we met you 2 or 3 years ago, whatever it's been, you had a handful of deals going on, closed, whatnot. I mean, so do you have your portfolio now with those same partners? What's that look like now?
Yes. So I've got several properties in Alabama. So the ones that I have purchased, or we had purchased together when we first met, I still have those. We've added a few since then. I think that the last one we bought was January 2020. So didn't drive straight into the COVID investing, at least in multifamily. And then I have a couple LP positions and other people's deals as a limited partner. And so I still have those.
So is that with the same partnership group? I know 1 or 2 or 3 of them was.
Yeah, there's a couple of us that are all the same, that have been the same on every deal, and then we'll bring in like one new person depending on who has money available in our network and who wants to be in a certain type of deal.
So you're probably continuing to. You say now you're sort of focusing on wholesaling business. Have those properties allowed you to have that monthly cash flow to where you can do what you're doing now? I mean, I know that's the whole idea. And then as more multifamily opportunities come along, you guys will continue to analyze and possibly do some more. So now you're just kind of doing your thing on your side, but yet you still have this partnership group.
Yeah.
that you
So
did multifamily with?
I'll say this. In 2020, all of us know there were some forced pivots. And for me, I was expecting a huge windfall of cash from a cash out refi, but COVID hit. So the reason I pivoted into the wholesaling and started doing that was because I was expecting all this money and I had made all these plans with this money. And then cash out refinances, at least in the way we were doing them, kind of dried up. And by the time you account for reserves and lowering the LTVs and things, I had to accept the fact that I wasn't going to have all this cash just ready to go. And so I had to figure out a way to make money consistently in bigger amounts. So like, yes, we do have cash flow. I can live off of cash flow, but I really would just rather reinvest it. So it forced me to figure out how to make money. So me and my business partner, Evan, we dove in head first into the wholesaling. We had always done it a little bit on the side, but we're like, let's make this a business. And it's been a good move so far because while the equity is still sitting there and it's building over time, we're making decent amounts of cash over here in an active way as well.
Yeah, so COVID did put a damper on, lending in general, everything, all the, Greg and I were fortunate enough to close a deal on February 28th and another one on March 20th. And when the March 20th one came, it was hitting the fan at that time. And
yep.
we were considerably worried at that point, but it came through. We still had normal reserves, but the big reserve requirements, I don't think had hit just yet, but we're coming. So I totally get what you're saying about.
Yeah, we had dodged that bullet because there was it was like things that were, the loan commitment was given on X date, don't have reserves. Anything after that did, and we were like right up onto that line. It was completely out of our control, and we fortunately fell on the favorable side of it. And I was just going to touch on, it kind of goes back to like the real estate license thing, and we're in a similar position, and people may not realize if they're newer that owning the multifamily side, either as an LP or even as an active person, doesn't typically mean that you're getting a lot of significant transactional income unless you're into larger syndications and you've got some fees involved that you're getting on the front end. It's a trickle in kind of income, and it might not add up to, in real numbers, a whole lot until you get 3, 4, 5 deals rocking at the same time. And that might even include, one deal a year going full cycle or something like that, so that you get, the big payoff at the end. So it's common to have a need for that transactional side of it. And a lot of times it's solved by getting a real estate license, and that's how you stay involved. You get some transactional income, or you're still W-2, or you start wholesaling or whatever.
Yeah, I would have a hard time being W-2 right now. I don't think anyone would want to hire me. But yeah, I had to do the W-2 route. In my company, one of the owners actually is a realtor too. So we do have that side. I'm not doing it though, because that's just not my skill set. But I am decent at I guess we could call it eye to eye, investor to investor business. I'm better at working with investors because I'm better at like, do the numbers work? No, not for you. No problem. Next person. And whereas I'm not as good at riding the emotions of a retail buyer, especially in this market where it's extremely hard to buy.
Mm-hmm.
So does Evan do that service for you guys? Like he'll work with the retail buyer more, or
No, he actually works in acquisitions and I'm in disposition. So he's the front end of the investor business. I'm the back end of the investor business. And then Rachel, which is Evan's wife, she would be the retail part of the business.
I got you. And so you mentioned before we got on here that you're about to have another employee or hiring someone. So you're definitely ramping
Yes.
up.
Yes.
You're down in Huntsville where everything's happening.
Trying to make it happen.
Yeah. Tough market, but great market, right?
You guys just
Yes.
got the Space Force Command or something like that, didn't you? Isn't that
Yep,
Huntsville?
that just got announced. And I have a few, actually I probably shouldn't even say, but I know a few potential things that are coming. I'll keep you guys in the loop. But they're not announced yet, so I don't want to speculate for
That's a
people.
big deal, though. I mean,
Mhm.
that's decades of commitment
Yes.
there and everything else that's going to come alongside of it to support it. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm.
And the FBI headquarters or second headquarters already began moving here. So it's two really big announcements in addition to the Toyota plant, which was announced a few years ago. So
Hmm.
Wow.
So ramping up wholesale. So you're like, hey, we need to pivot. We need to get some money coming in the door. You had dabbled, or was it a little bit more than dabbling in wholesaling at that point?
well, see, our goal when we were marketing, we were looking for stuff to flip or purchase. And so wholesaling was kind of like, okay, this deal doesn't fit our criteria, but it fits theirs, so we'll wholesale it to them. That's kind of the thought.
Okay.
Whereas now it's like we market to wholesale and then we get deals out of it sometimes.
Okay. So you'll cherry pick ones that you really like
Oh yeah, yeah.
and then pass things along. What, could you name two or three things that you did either systems wise or mindset wise or just execution wise that took it from this is something that we're doing. Okay, this thing we were counting on just got blown out of the water. Now we need to make up for it. How do we do that quickly? I mean, what did you try? What worked? What didn't work?
Okay, so one, we did hire a coach. Because we had seen a couple of people we knew have really great results with this particular group of coaches. So we went out, we met with them, we saw some of their operation, and then we went ahead and paid them to help us. So that's one thing we did. Now, when it comes to mindset, one thing that we struggled with was seeing marketing as a cost. So we're like, okay, we're spending this money on TV, but we saw it as like a problem, like, oh my gosh, we got to make that payment, instead of seeing it as an investment where, and it's because we didn't know the KPIs of the business yet, but like we know now, okay, this needs to make us 4 to 6 times what we're paying for it, versus seeing it as like, oh no, we just spent 2 grand, we got to be careful. It almost, I don't know, just that simple shift made a huge difference, because now, I mean, compared to what we spent on marketing back then, we're spending more than 10 times as much, but we're also making 10 times as much. So it's kind of a balance. Um, but once you see it, that's the biggest thing I see with newer wholesalers is they're scared to spend money, which makes sense. You have limited resources, you don't know how well it's going to work, but we finally pulled the trigger, made the jump, and that's been a huge success.
Well, yeah, especially in your guys' business. I mean, you need churn. You need stuff coming across your desk at volume.
Constant,
On
yeah.
the multifamily thing, it'd be like whatever, you're going to analyze 80 deals to get one. I mean, just from a contrast point of view, do you have a KPI of like how many deals do we want to see come through our inbox in a week?
Well, I mean, as far as how many contracts we want to lock up, we want each of our acquisitions managers to get 3 per week locked
Wow.
under contract. But again, these are smaller deals, so it could be anywhere from 50 to $150,000, sometimes even lower, depending on the market. And then we sell them for our average deal size is around 15,000. So
Hmm.
we want to move them. But there's a lot of KPIs involved. So we know, like, if we make 50 calls a day, then we should get that 3 contracts per week. there's a lot of little ratios that as long as you focus on the inputs, making sure you put your inputs in correctly, then the outputs kind of sort themselves out, because you can't actually control the lagging indicators, but you can definitely control the inputs.
Yeah, and I agree on that. There's a tendency to not want to spend money when it might be like an absolute necessity to level up or get. We were having a conversation about marketing over the past couple podcasts. I'm like, okay, we probably need to step up some things. And it was a conversation. It boiled down to whether we're using like the free platform on something instead of the paid one. I'm like, we got to stop having these conversations and just, pay the $89 a year or something like that. It's like, really, is this what the bottleneck is? But it takes a little bit to kick yourself in the pants to do some of that stuff, especially when resources are limited, like you said. So that's part of the commitment thing of it, though. It's like you just gotta like, okay, well, I'll save some money over here or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you have to be all in. Like you can't be half committed. It doesn't work. And that's where a lot of people fail, is they think, oh, it's going to be extra money, or I'm going to supplement or whatever, but they're never really all in or fully committed. And that makes a big difference, because if I wasn't fully committed, there's no way I would have spent the money that it took to get to this place. Or when I say spent, I should have said invested. There's no way I would have invested the money to get to this place. And that's where a coach does help, because he yells at me if I don't if I don't do what I need to do, and that helps, because it's someone who's made millions and millions of dollars doing exactly what I'm doing. So why am I not listening to him after I paid him money? So that's definitely helped.
We have we all have a colleague that posted a video on Facebook, I think last night or day before. It was only about 17 seconds long, and he keeps getting these questions about what does it take to get to your level? I've been following your journey. What does it take to your level? And the reason the video is 17 seconds long is because his answer was, it takes everything.
Yeah.
And it goes back to your point about just execute, just take action. You can't figure it all. You can figure it out along the way, as long as you take action. You can't wait till you figure it all out. And I like the fact that you're actually paying a coach. We just, on our last interview with our podcast, we had a heavy hitter multifamily investor, and he was like, yeah, this is what our company did. We paid a coach, business coach, to level us up everywhere. I mean, it had to do with marketing and acquisition and networking and raising capital and just mindset as well. You touched on something really quick I want to get technical about in regards to wholesaling, because we know several good ones. We get, opportunities sent our way because we still like working with the ones that are legit and honest. And have you guys, and this is just kind of getting into the nitty gritty of what you do, we keep hearing that texting has become a big thing for instead of cold calling, it's cold texting, whatever you want to call it. Do you guys utilize that as well, combined with calling, or how does that work?
No, I will text buyers. I haven't texted sellers. Now, I know it works for some people, but we've known some people directly in our market that had people come after them for it. And with the amount of other marketing we have, I figured we can wait on this one. I think it's oversaturated. And so I don't think it's going to be a viable option for much longer anyway. And with new updates on the iPhone, like a lot of people are having these text messages blocked anyway. So for us, we do the cold calling. We have television, and then we have PPC, but that's newer. So I don't have good metrics on that yet.
Wow. The PPC is, I'm assuming that's pay-per-click?
Yep.
Okay, so that's web.
Yep, Google Ads.
Yeah, Google Ads.
Yeah.
Are you using a platform like Investor Carrot or something like that, or for online leads, or are you just shooting them to your own website?
We have a CRM, so we use
Okay.
Podio, and then we have an overlay called Hercules, which is kind of set up for our type of business. And then we've gone in and customized it a little bit too. So any leads, any leads are going to get input into Podio, and then if it comes through PPC, it's automatically going to pop up in our Podio. Same thing with if they come through the website.
One thing that Greg and I've heard, keep hearing over and over recently, is be sure you build your systems large enough from the very beginning so that when your business does grow a year, 18 months, 2 years down the road, you're not having to scale your systems. Is that something you guys thought about when you went into what you're doing now, or have you had to adjust as you go along?
The CRM, I think we're set up pretty good with. There's probably, at some point, there's going to be a process of us like consolidating and using better systems for some of the same processes we do. Right now, we're a little bit earlier in the process. So it's like, okay, we just need to be able to send a blast of emails. So active campaign, or we just need to be able to do this. So we go pick a service that makes sense for us right now. There is a possibility that some of these are going to have to change as we scale. But I think our core systems are scalable and can grow with us, because we've seen people with businesses that are doing 10 times the volume we're doing, using them efficiently. So
yeah, you've got a model to, if it works for them, it should work for you for now and for a long time. That's smart.
Hey, it's Greg from Real Wealth Solutions. If you'd like to know more about our passive income opportunities, jump onto realwealth.solutions and hit that schedule a call button. We're always happy to talk about our multifamily and flip projects and to answer any questions you may have. Again, that's realwealth.solutions. We look forward to hearing from you. And now, back to the podcast.
I want to get into mindset here. I want to get into, you're a runner, you work out, you run a lot. Last year you ran 2,000 miles, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, I hit 2K last year.
2K last year for 2020. Had that been a goal for a long time?
At the beginning of the year last year, I was like, I'm gonna run 1,200, but then I hit that in August. So wow. I was like, okay, I gotta raise the goal.
Yeah. You allowed me to crack on an old coworker of mine, friend of mine, who used to brag about running 1,000. So that was fun, but
good.
You're also, you got this big race coming up in April, May?
April.
April is 100K.
10th, I believe. Yeah. So I've never done this before.
So yeah, just share with us, I guess, why you run, what is it about working out and running specifically why you do it, what it helps you do, why this big race in April, what it's about. I know there's some underlying things behind that as far as where money's going and things of that nature. Just speak to all that if you don't mind.
Yeah. So when I first started, it was more just to see if I could even do it when I first started running. So running has never, or at least until I started about 5 years ago, it was never my thing. I ran when I was playing sports, and I didn't run in practice or any of that. So 1 second, sorry.
No problem. There's real life happening here on the podcast. He's going to go smack somebody down.
So the morning meetings, they bring some energy, but I didn't shut the door. So I was hearing all their energy, which is great. It's going to be a good day. But going back, so running, I read the book, actually have it right here, Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg. And there was a story about this lady who was like overweight and super unhealthy, and her fiance had just broken up with her, and she traveled to Egypt, and she's crying in her hotel room and just like having a miserable time. And she was a smoker, and she's just really down in the depths. And she decided all of a sudden that she was going to come back in a year and walk across the Sahara And then she did. And so the book dives into like some of the things she had to do to change her habits. And so that inspired me to just start running for some reason. There was a story in the book about like having a trigger to initiate the habit. And so like putting your running shoes beside your bed, so when you wake up you see them and it's like, oh yeah, it's time to go run. And then you got to have a reward too, which I made that the protein shake at the end. I was like, that seems good
That's
enough.
pretty weak reward, man. All right, but
I'm
it
not good
works
at
for
rewarding
you.
myself.
Yeah, it's like,
But
really?
no,
The chocolate in
I
it at least?
yes, definitely.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, unless it's a strawberry day, every once in a while you got to switch it up. But so I um, started small, couldn't even run a half a mile at the time. But then it became like a challenge. So um, David Goggins' book inspired me to run my first. Like the next day after finishing his book, Can't Hurt Me, I ran 20 miles for the first time, and it was like a completely flat course, and no one or yeah, there was no. It was like perfect weather. It was the easiest 20-mile run ever, but it was the first time I had done it, so I was like super excited. Um, and now it's just like I have to see where I can push myself. So I've done a few races like the half marathons and marathons, like where I raise money for a nonprofit that really touches on my heart. And now it's like I feel like I have to see how far I can go, because this nonprofit it helps people who are suffering with depression or anxiety or just going through really dark uh, really dark places in their lives. And this is this might actually be crazy, but like when you go running for these kinds of distances, you start to go into pain tunnels and you start to like really go into those places where these people kind of live. It's slightly different, but it's very similar, because you start to doubt yourself, or you start to hear voices that are saying things that are just like you're not enough, or like you're never gonna make it, or you're tired, or all these things. And so it's almost symbolic. It's like if I can push myself through that, then I feel like I'm definitely elevating my mental strength as well, which is important. But I don't know, it all ties together. So I really like to raise money for them while actually putting myself through that.
How has that helped you in business? How's that helped you stay focused? How's that, you know what? I'm just gonna throw it out there. How's that keep you relentless?
Uh, it actually makes it harder, if
Does it
I'm being
really?
perfectly honest.
Okay.
So I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, man, if I just ran like 6 mile, say I ran 6 miles 3 days a week, and then I had one longer run, say like 13 to 20 miles, and then I lifted 2 days a week, I would be like probably at my ultimate, like it would be easier to eat well because I'm not burning so many calories that I feel like I need to eat everything. Uh, I would be getting stronger. This actually breaks you down, and it actually sometimes can negatively affect business just a little bit, because you don't have as much to give when you get there. But I feel like I have to do it. So it's part of the challenge, if that makes sense. I think after I finish the 100K, I'll take a break and just be a normal runner for a little while and see how it is. But until then, I just have to push through.
So is the competitive person in me and the somewhat knowledgeable in training has to believe that you have a very regimented schedule currently for training to do this 100K. However, there might be another side of Caleb was saying, no, I'm just going to kind of train like I've been training. And then the mental part of going out and just doing that day is where I want to tell myself I can do it, even if I'm not trained up for it. Is there, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So no, I'm not trying to be like, so in the book, David Goggins actually, the first time he ran, I think it was a 100 miler, which is absolutely ridiculous. 100K, by the way, is only 62 miles for the people who don't know what distance that is. It's far, but it is nowhere close to 100 miles. He basically showed up to the race and then just did it, which is absolutely insane. I can't do that. I know that I will break down. I know I have to build myself up. So I actually, what is this app called? I have a coach for this, just like everything I want to actually be good at. I have a coach for, and it's called V.O2. And so he puts what I'm supposed to do each day. So like tomorrow, 4-mile run, it's got some speed work in it. Wednesday, I've got a 15-mile run, and then so on. And but it doesn't, it's there, but it doesn't go according to plan a lot of times. And it's because of other factors. Like my chiropractor closed down for 2 months. That was rough for me. Like, because you need maintenance. It's like going 30,000 miles without getting an oil change. That's a problem. So there were some times where I had to tone it down for a minute. I had to adjust some things, like maybe do some alternate workouts, get on a bike, or just do something that's a little bit less impact. But there is a plan, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Are you?
Well, yeah, you just don't. Yeah, just didn't give up. You're like, well, this schedule is not really working out. I'm not going to be able to do 15, so I just won't do any. And I think that's kind of where people get a little misguided with a plan, or a plan of action, or it's like it's not always about hitting everything on your checklist. That isn't always possible, but because your day is going to be a little blown up, you still got to try and get something done. I think sometimes I'm just like, well, it doesn't look like this is going to happen. I'm just not going to do anything towards making it happen. So
It's
I'll just give up completely, and I'll watch Lilo and Stitch or something instead.
I've done that before, but not usually.
Yeah.
It's just like entrepreneurship though. Like, you're gonna have a plan and things are gonna go wrong, and so you have to make adjustments. And that's what I had to do, pivoting from multifamily to wholesaling for a while. Things went wrong. A pandemic happened. It's like, okay, well, I'm not going to sit here and make excuses because everyone else has the same problem or a similar problem. So how do I get my training in, per se, get my cash flow in, but by doing it a slightly different way?
Yeah, and also, and I catch myself doing is like, don't beat myself so much up for the stuff that I didn't get done. Give myself credit for what I did get done as well, because it's still usually a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't beat yourself up for the 3 out of the 10 that you didn't knock off your list.
I'm getting better at that, I promise.
Well, yeah, you want to be aware of it, but it can't completely take away from the other accomplishments.
So a cool thing I learned from, and this doesn't apply to training directly, but more so to your to-do list thing, Who Not How, I read it last year, and he mentioned, it's by Dan Sullivan and whoever his writer was, but you'll be able to find it. So he mentioned, like, if you're procrastinating on something, which a lot of times if it's on the to-do list and you didn't get it done, you were probably procrastinating. He basically said maybe it's not in your gifting to get done. So who can help you get that done? And that's how I try to think about it in business. I obviously can't get someone to run my miles for me, but I can get someone to help me build the plan, or I can get someone to give me advice on, oh, well, I couldn't run 15 miles today. What's an alternate workout that doesn't hurt my knee, that can still give me training towards the goal, or like whatever, you know what I'm saying? But who can help me get this done? Because those little tasks, they eat at me. There's things from last week that I still got to get done, but I know actually I'm going to get my VA to do them because she's better at it anyway, or someone who that's their skill set. And a lot of times it's when I finally let it go and looked for the who, it actually got done better than what I had imagined it, because I was limited by what I knew. So I was limited in like, there was a, I wanted to figure out how to get leads to match both in Podio and in Active Campaign, and I didn't know how, but my VA did, and so she helped me set it up. It's like, if you ask somebody, chances are they're going to help you do it better than you were going to do it anyway.
That's great. I've heard that book mentioned a lot the last few days, which I'm going to pick it up. And we've also heard a lot mentioned about VAs the last couple of weeks, which we've not taken advantage of yet. But I definitely think there's some value there for us moving forward somehow.
Yeah, there absolutely is. So for me, they're doing a lot of cold calling. I've got 3 cold calling VAs. I have a lead manager VAs. She's a little bit higher level, so she'll go into our system and she's making offers all day on properties, trying to get the colder leads up to a warm or hot status. And then we have another VA who does a lot. She inputs a lot of our KPIs. She makes a lot of Facebook like marketing or posts and things. She's just really talented. She's versatile. So she kind of gets thrown on all kinds of different projects, but she definitely can do it better and more efficiently than we can. And that helps us stay focused on higher dollar activities or activities that make us more money.
That's great.
So what, don't take this the wrong way. What do you do?
I don't do a whole lot. No, I'm kidding.
I'm running mostly and drinking shakes.
Yeah.
I mean, what does that distill down now? I mean, you've parsed this stuff out, and I'm thinking specifically from the wholesaling point of view, because I don't know a lot about it. So it's a genuine question. You know, what are those higher level things that, you know, the top of the wholesaling chain is working on?
So I do have some, not necessarily top of the chain, definitely money making activities that I still do. So disposition is basically us as a wholesaler selling to an investor. I'm in charge of that. But I also do a lot of other things, like I plan all the marketing for acquisitions. So I'm in charge of speaking with the television stations, figuring out what kind of ROIs we have, speaking with our PPC guy, making sure our cold callers numbers are on point, things like that. Those are all higher level CEO, CFO type.
The kind of on the business, not in the business type
Yeah,
stuff.
on the business.
Okay.
But I still am doing in the business stuff in the dispositions arena, and that's who I'm actually hiring today, is someone to help me with that, so I can be more focused on the higher level things. But higher level things could be raising money. That always makes money, and it makes money for them too. That's something that I have a lot of experience in, so it's a good place for me to be putting time. I can also be working on new elements of the business. Like there's a lot of things you can branch off into to make a vertically integrated business, or sister companies doing something slightly different, but it affects a different target market. I can be focused on we can expand markets, so a whole new revenue stream from a whole new market. These are all things that I'm going to be free to do more or spend more time doing, instead of hopping on the phone with investors about a specific property that they're looking to purchase.
Yeah, there's like, I'll throw out a book, like it's called Deep Work, and
I bought that. I haven't read it yet.
It's great. It's because it basically just boils down to any given person on any given day might have 3 to 4 hours of very intentional, high level. This is absolutely gonna have a high impact on our business or whatever you're working on, and then you're kind of done for the day.
Yeah.
So it's strategies on how to figure out what that topic should be and how to guard that time and execute on it. But a lot of what you mentioned, and this is, I think, for many businesses, are the really time consuming personal stuff. Because if you're specifically investor money, you need to create relationships with these people over time through multiple touches, get to know them. Both people have to be extremely comfortable with the situation, and you can't VA that kind of stuff out.
No, it's
So
very,
and those are also like the evergreen things that once they're kind of set up, hopefully they'll continue to pay off over time, but they're very time consuming.
yes. So that is why I want to open up some time, because it's not, when you're disposing of property, you make maybe you make 15 grand. Like I said, that's around the average deal size. That's great, but what if you can build a relationship that equates to millions of dollars over time? That might be a better use of the time. But you still need someone to dispo, otherwise the business goes dead. So
yeah, like if you're focusing on, you could make that $15,000 to one person 200 times, or you can spend the time developing very tight relationships to make that $15,000. Now you got a core group of 10 buyers or something.
Yep.
That you have nurtured into very long-term relationships. That's the kind of stuff that the working on the business and the VAs and stuff leave time for.
Yes, exactly.
Do you want to
Saw you unmute there. I saw something big was coming from Darren.
Well, it's not huge. Caleb, do you want to talk any more about I guess the gosh, you just had a brain fart. This podcast is real, man. The organization you're raising money for. Do you want to talk any more about that? Give them, I mean,
So
say the
first
name
of all, yeah, I should have earlier.
That's okay. Dude.
Yep. So I'm raising money for Heart Support, heartsupport.com. You can go check them out, but I'll actually send y'all a link so you can put it in the show notes.
Absolutely.
Because I'm doing a fundraiser with this 100K race. I want to raise 100K for the 100K. We are a little over $8,000 in so far with a few months to go, or well, 2.5-ish months to go. So anyone who wants to donate to that would thrill my soul and help a lot of people, especially with COVID. I was looking at some statistics, and it's a little alarming, the amount of overdose deaths and suicide and things that are on the uprise. And then general polls talking about how many adults or young adults are, even if they haven't taken terrible actions or detrimental actions, they're feeling depressed, or they're feeling really low, like the lowest point in a long time. So definitely being able to provide resources to people like this is huge for me, because I've been there. I know what it's like.
Yeah. How'd you get involved with this group? Did you just find them at some point in time and then realize, you just had similar interests or whatnot?
Well, when I was going through a hard time, so it started in the music industry, actually, this company. And so originally it was a guy named Jake Lurs. He founded it, and he was in a metal band. And so like he kept seeing these kids at shows, just like who were struggling with this stuff. Self-harm is like a thing you see. If you go to a metal show, you see it. Like you can literally see where people have harmed themselves. And he wanted to be able to help these people. And so he created Heart Support. So originally it was all music. Now it's like, well, music isn't the only place where people are struggling. So it's spread out, and it's more accessible to all kinds of people. But that's how I found out about them. Is I was going through a hard time, and I was in the music scene, and I approached Heart Support because of what they were offering.
Yeah. Do you have the opportunity sometimes to speak to other people that are going through, whatever rough situation, kind of try to, as a mentor and encourager, or do you have time for that? What's that look like in your life?
Sometimes sometimes I've had those opportunities. It doesn't happen as much anymore because I guess I've gotten to a point where I seem like when people see me, I'm really optimistic or I'm really upbeat. So I probably scare some of the people that used to approach me away because I'm just I've progressed, but I still go through these phases. Like it's still rough sometimes.
Yeah.
But I don't do it as much anymore just because I don't get approached. But I do have a lot of people come up to me who are, say, they just getting out of it and they're like, hey, thanks for what you're doing because I was just there. And so that's a lot of people like that end up donating towards it because they felt it. And that's awesome because they're directly giving back to what they were just affected with.
Yeah, that's great. For any, we're going to turn back towards real estate now. Any new people that are wanting to get into real estate, in any facet of it, what's your top 2 nuggets of advice, I guess?
Okay, so the first like, because people come to me about this all the time. The first question I ask is usually, why do you want to? And I try to listen to their answer and see, like, do they think this is easy? Because it's not. It doesn't matter what part of real estate you get into. If you're like a lot of new agents, they think, oh, it's just easy side money. No, it's hard. It's hard to be an agent. It takes work. You got to show up. You got to make your calls. You got to work on a marketing plan, branding. So figure out why it is you want to do it. If you're looking to get rich, not necessarily get rich, but if you're seeing shiny objects, then it might not be for you. You have to want to do this over the long term. And you have to be okay with it. Just like starting any other business, you might not make real money for the first few years. Like you'll probably be scraping by. If you can live with that, and then you see the light on the other end, and it's worth it, then 100% go for it. Then I can't really tell anybody to do anything different than what I know. And so at the beginning, I always tell people, you need to be networking and you need to be looking for people's pain points and seeing if you can bring value to those pain points. Literally just had a phone call with a guy I worked with at Loan Depot for a little while. And he was asking me all these, basically the same questions, like, how do I get into this? How do I do it? I'm like, you're in Memphis? Great. Go talk to multifamily investors in Memphis. They're out there. Go find a way to provide value to them. Sometimes it's simply just working for free for a little while. I've definitely done that. But sometimes you might know somebody that can benefit them. You might have more time to commit to something than them. It might literally be like a laborer's job that they just need done, and you're the person that's available, and that gets you in the door. But you need to be networking and finding a way to bring value to them.
Yeah, and then I think one other thing that you did touch on earlier was you have or get a mentor by mistake, or you pay for one, whatever that looks like, or if you can provide some value that's worth their time to show you, that's definitely the way to do it. And I think what most people underestimate that this is the long game. To your point, no matter what facet, whether you're wholesaling, whether you're an agent, whether you're buying multifamily, whether you're a contractor doing flips for people or you're flipping, it's all a long game.
I mean, in the beginning, I was working in a warehouse for 9 hours or Domino's, depending on what time frame it was. And then I would come home and have to put in for 3 to 4 hours to get this done.
Yep.
And that's going to have to be part of the commitment for a while because it takes money. You're not going to make money right away. And if you do, that's awesome. But you just got to remember that it's reinvestment that gets you to where you want to go. And you're going to pay one way or another. You can pay for a mentor, or you can pay through experience.
Yep.
That's a great point. Yeah, no doubt, man. Yeah.
I've definitely paid through experience. Oh boy.
I've got a good mix of both.
Yeah, you got a good mix of both. I like that you brought up, you didn't even mention books, that's part of it, educate yourself. But ultimately, all of this comes down, you're going to have to be talking to people because people own buildings, people have money to invest, people are lenders. So getting, like that networking side of it going, looking back, I could have done that a lot quicker because I was out of state, but investing in Tennessee. But I never really took the time to network while I was back home. I just didn't think it applied. But now starting to have conversations with people back home, and those
Yeah.
would have been a lot further along if I just had started talking earlier. So yeah, get out and actually talk to people.
Uh, Obviously, one of Caleb's strengths is his ability to network and create relationships. And for our listeners who will watch and hear this in the very near future, I love when Caleb is passing through town, wherever he's going, he's throwing out a message on social media just saying, hey, we'll be this such and such town at this time, looking to have dinner with whoever. And it may or may not be someone that he knows, but I think there's power in that. And I love the fact that you do that. And not just calling up whoever's in your contact list, but you're really, truly throwing it out there. Because there's probably always that person's like, oh, yeah, I've been friends with him for a year or two. He's doing this real estate thing. And then when you're coming through town, maybe that one person's like, oh, yeah, I should go talk with him. So I love that, man. Good job.
Like if I'm going to be eating anyway or getting a coffee anyway, like there might as well be someone else there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think we did that in Johnson City. I think you were on the way somewhere and we're like,
Yep.
Yep.
Heck, you did it when we closed our very first deal in Chattanooga. Or was it second deal?
I just wanted an excuse to celebrate that day.
You drove up, man.
Yep.
Drove up from Huntsville.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, Greg, you got anything else?
No, not really. I mean, the kind of biggest takeaway is that you're going to pay for it one way or the other. I'm going to remember that because that is absolutely true. Yeah, just getting out, talking to people, and get a coach. I think you said if there's something to the effect of if there's something that I want to be really good at, I'm going to get a coach. And
yep, I've got a lifting coach, running coach, wholesaling coach, personal strategy coach. And I need more coaches.
Great.
And there's sometimes a barrier to that for you might not have a bunch of money lying around. You can form, sort of a coaching relationship just by getting with other people that are trying to execute and succeed and doing like a little accountability group or something like that, and just like pile on support from other people trying to execute. It doesn't always have to be that you're having to outlay money in order to find, coaching or accountability. It helps.
Yep. I usually,
but to get started,
groups.
Yeah, use Facebook. Yeah, there you go. Facebook groups, little meetups, whatever. Going to coffee with somebody. So.
Yep.
Yeah. No, that's all I had. Those are my big thoughts.
So how can someone get in touch with you, Caleb?
Well, Facebook is probably one of the best places. Send me a DM though, because I get a lot of fake friend requests, so I might not accept it right away unless you send one. But it's facebook.com/relentlesscaleb. Instagram is a good spot as well, at Relentless Investor. And yeah, I'm happy to speak with anyone who wants to speak, whether it be wholesaling, multifamily. I've at least had a little bit of experience in a lot of different avenues of real estate, especially if you're looking in Huntsville or Birmingham, Alabama. So I'm always happy to help and try to build a relationship.
And when's the race and where's the race?
Is
it a race or is it an event? I mean, I guess there's probably a podium at the end of it, but
it's a real race. The thing with ultras is they're pretty spread out anyway because there's so much space in them. So it's not like a 5K where everyone's grouped together the whole time. So it's a real race event, and it's in Zion, Utah.
Oh wow, man, that's gonna be sweet.
In what month?
April 10th.
Oh, so it'll be still kind of cool
Yeah, they said the
weather-wise.
average temps were between 45 and 65 generally during that time of year. So,
What kind of time you hoping to post?
oh gosh, I want to finish. Like, to be perfectly honest, I I estimate like my low key target, but like I will not be upset if I miss this, but I finish. Um, I'm shooting for around 13 minutes a mile, which sounds incredibly slow even to me, but I know that I'll along the way I'm going to take stops. I'm going to eat some food. I'm
Yep.
going to have to refuel and do
Oh
things like
yeah,
that. Change clothes at certain points potentially. So um, and there's going to be spots where I'm literally walking. So
Yep.
the
right.
point is just
Yep.
keep moving forward one step at a time.
Yeah, I'll send you. There's a race back home in Alaska. It's called Marathon, but it's a 5K, except it goes up a mountain and then back down.
Oof.
And the winners do it in like less than an hour. And there's a good little documentary about it. And one of the elite females is talking about it, and she's like, yeah, I'm at a high level. I'm out there giving it my all for whatever 57, 58 minutes. I got to hand it to everybody else out here. They're out here giving it their all for 2.5 or 3 hours. And I was like, wow, I never thought of it that way. Just like it is, yes, they're competing at a higher level and winning races and stuff, but everybody's out there doing the same thing. And some of them are out there doing it for hours and hours and hours. And
Yep.
it was just an interesting point of view to have. Uh, it's like, yeah, I'll be done in an hour. You're going to be out here for 2 or 3 doing this thing. So,
I'm going to be the equivalent of that 2 to 3 hour person.
Mhm.
Just in a long, long
but you'll
race.
do it. So that's cool. Yeah, yeah. Kudos to you. I did 1.5 marathon, and it was like what you said. It was 40 degrees and flat, and I did it. But I'll take it.
Yeah, take that medal, take
Yeah,
that win.
yeah. Right. There was no win, but all right, cool. Yeah, we'll just end it there. We want to thank you for joining us here on the Real Wealth Solutions podcast. Reach out to Caleb Bryant. We'll drop the race information if you want to make a donation. I think we can all identify with being in a spot and being thankful for the resources available to help you get out of that. Um, if you find something specific here you think somebody would benefit, we always appreciate you sharing it. And until the next episode, I am Greg Scully for Darren Light and Caleb Bryant.
See you,
See
everybody.
you on the next episode.